That rain that is going to usher in these cooler temperatures we've been talking about. We'll tell you more about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, the Biden administration is quietly moving to do something former President Trump did to try to stem the tide of illegal immigration, but he got blasted for it. Here's Andrea Fujii.
The Biden administration is waiving more than 24 federal laws to allow the construction of a border wall in South Texas, as more cities along the border and in the north struggle to handle the influx of migrants coming from Latin America. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas saying there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries.
Yeah, Biden's executive orders quietly announced, if you will, more like written, into the U.S. Federal Registry yesterday. Elsewhere in Washington, D.C., moderate House Republicans telling ABC News they're pushing to expel Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz from the House GOP conference and punish the other Republicans who voted to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Gaetz and 7 others provided enough votes to force McCarthy out after the now former Speaker worked with Democrats to pass a short-term spending bill last week, keeping the government open. Lionel Moise on the Republicans vying to replace McCarthy.
Majority Leader Steve Scalise throwing his hat in the ring despite undergoing treatment for blood cancer.
We have a lot of work to do.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan also running for the post.
One big issue, will the new speaker support more funding for Ukraine? Jordan says he's against it. Another big issue for the new speaker will be whether to do away with that rule that allowed McCarthy to be ousted. Here in Tennessee, law enforcement, state lawmakers fed up with threats against schools, and now work is underway to send people to prison for it. Fox 17 says under Gallatin Republican State Senator Farrell Hale's bill, a threat of mass violence on a school or government building would be a Class D felony. That's up to 12 years in prison and a possible fine of $5,000.
The purpose of the bill is to catch these folks before they carry out an act of mass violence. We've got to be able to identify these folks and then have a way to process them through the judicial system. And currently, we really don't have that, with this only being a misdemeanor.
Now, this bill would leave a misdemeanor in effect in case local law enforcement feels that that is plenty of punishment. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Here's Daria Albinger.
Stocks rose as oil prices fell. The Dow was up 127 points a day after it wiped out its gains for the year. The Nasdaq jumped 177 and the S&P closed up 34. Oil prices tumbled, which takes some pressure off of inflation and the threat of interest rates staying very high for the foreseeable future. Then again, that may not be the case for long as far as oil is concerned. Saudi Arabia says it will maintain a production cut of 1 million barrels a day through the end of the year. ADP says private employers added 89,000 jobs last month. That was far fewer than analysts had expected. Got returns? Give Uber a call. The ride-hailing service is now offering to return packages for a fee. Drivers will collect up to 5 prepaid and sealed packages and drop them off at a local post office, UPS, or FedEx store for a flat fee of $5 or $3 for Uber One members.
All right, let's check futures ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street this morning. Right now, Dow futures down 123, S&P off 15, NASDAQ down 42. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And go, my fellow Americans.
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
507 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. I got to tell you that, there's so much. I've missed so much, and I'm going to try to catch up. Have you seen this interview that Tim Burchett did with Brian Kilmeade at Fox News? I'm not going to repeat what I said off the air to Johnny because I can't. It would probably be unprofessional of me to say that I literally called just moments ago. I called Brian Kilmeade basically a Richard. And that's what I did because this interview, and you folks have probably heard this already, where you've got Brian Kilmeade on Fox News interviewing Tim Burchett and Congressman, of course, one of 8 to vote to vacate. And he's just, I got to tell you that the attacks that these 8 are having to endure, we'll get into all of this straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. But I just tweeted out that the thing that I would say right off the top is I just returning here from a few days away. And it's great to be back, by the way. But one of the things that I would say is, it would really be nice. It would really be nice, Brian Kilmeade and all these other folks who are attacking these 8, if you were as pissed off about $33 trillion in debt and open borders and all that other kind of stuff that we have been dealing with for years. I mean, I'm seeing all this vitriol out there and all of this anger and hatred against Tim Burchett and others for voting their conscience and doing what they did. But then you've got what happened with Andy Ogles yesterday from 9 to 12. Chris Hand was all over Congressman Andy Ogles for his vote to keep Kevin McCarthy. So you've got just Republicans and conservatives going after each other. So, I don't really know where to start because there is just a lot of places to go. By the way, other notes about places we're going to go today. We've got Congressman Scott Desjardins. He did vote to keep Kevin McCarthy. Very conservative guy. He's going to be with us at 7:05. Senator Bill Hagerty, he'll be with us at 7:35. One of the things that I will say is that all day today, and of course here since this vote took place, there's a conversation about who really is conservative out there, right? Who's really conservative and who are the rhinos? You got some people out there that are saying, I kid you not, there's some people that are out there saying, because apparently these days we all just can't agree to disagree. You got some people saying that Scott Desjardins and John Rose and Andy Ogles, they're saying that they are actually rhinos and not true conservatives because they voted to keep Kevin McCarthy. Now, I will say this. I am all for giving Kevin McCarthy the heave-ho. I really am. But I've got my own reasons. But to say that Desjardins and John Rose and Andy Ogles are rhinos? Come on. I mean, do I need to pull out the scorecard, the Heritage Action scorecard on these folks? Scott Desjardins, 100%. John Rose, 100% conservative. Andy Ogles is at 98%. So you can't sit here and just base their entire political career on this one vote to keep Kevin McCarthy. But I also understand, their point about strategy. And was this the right moment to do what they did, which was ultimately vote to vacate and out goes Kevin McCarthy? Was this the right time? And I keep going back to, and then I'm going to get to some fantastic audio, but I keep going back to this, which is, can you imagine if we had lawmakers who had the testicular fortitude of, a Matt Gaetz or a Tim Burchett and some of these other folks that voted to kick Kevin McCarthy out? The point was made. And the point is that we are tired of, as conservatives, we're tired of the spending. We're tired of quite frankly, the mismanaging. But I wish that this had happened in, the late 90s, the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, the 2010, 2015, 2020. Here we are now in 2023 and $33 trillion in debt, and we're finally now making a stand? And people like Richard Kilmeade, I know it's Brian, he's going to badger Tim Burchett to the point where he's literally mocking him on national television? Instead of just, being able to agree that as conservatives, sometimes you just have to make a point. And the point for Tim Burchett and many others out there, and there really is a big divide amongst conservatives. And I think it all comes down to a number of different things. Number one is timing. Because, for example, Andy Ogles, and I'm going to get to his audio here in a second, but for Congressman Andy Ogles, one of his points was that he was all for ultimately, getting rid of Speaker McCarthy. It just now was not the right time because we're trying to get all of these appropriations bills passed. And so now we've got to go through a speaker battle and an appropriations process. And so this gives the left all kinds of ammunition to go after the Republicans. It's all chaos. If you, read the, all the media out there, they're saying that there's nothing but chaos in the House of Representatives. I'm sorry. Do you know what I call chaos? Well, I can quote Matt Gaetz here. I'm going to have to paraphrase, but, Matt Gaetz talked about how, and something that I've been saying a long time, if you want to discuss chaos, let's talk about $33 trillion in debt. And, absolutely just unlimited and unaccounted for funding for Ukraine. And open borders and the chaos in the streets and the rest of it. I mean, it's all, at this point, we all know where we are in America as far as the state of our country. That's chaotic. What's going on in the House of Representatives right now? I don't know if I would call it chaotic. You've got the media that wants to call it chaotic. You've got the Democrats that want to call this chaotic. You've got, a lot of Republicans that want to call it chaotic. But listen, I'm not going to be a one-issue guy, and I never have been. I'm not going to call Scott Desjardins or John Rose or Andy Ogles, I'm not going to call them rhinos. I'm just not going to do it. Because by and large, they are incredibly conservative. Do I disagree with them on the whole Kevin McCarthy thing? Well, yeah. But I also understand their point as well. And I don't know what Scott Desjardins, Congressman Desjardins, I don't know what he's going to say at 7:05. But again, I know what Andy Ogles said to Chris Hand yesterday, which was, the feeling of wanting McCarthy out, totally understands it. However, the timing wasn't right. But I think that Andy Ogles, Congressman Ogles, I think that he did make a mistake, and I'm going to get into that straight ahead. 5:15, time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment, WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. Cloudy today, rain this afternoon, a high of 77. Right now, 67 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, it's, again, great to be back here. It is also great to see Johnny B back as well. And Johnny's been gone for a few days, so we'll have a lot of fun during the Gang of Three Amigos at 5:35. Here's a little teaser for you, Johnny and Ken. My wife almost got into a fist fight when we were at Dollywood. I cannot wait to tell this story.
My money's on Amy.
Oh, Amy would have beat the living crap out of this lady. I mean, it would have just... I'm going to tell you the story at 5:36 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Regarding Andy Ogles. Now, this happened yesterday during the Chris Hand show. Chris had Andy on, and Chris was angry because Andy did not vote to oust Kevin McCarthy. This is part of how that went. This is Andy Ogles And he talked about why exactly it is that he did vote to keep McCarthy.
Problem with this is timing. So there's a 45-day CR that we have. The clock is ticking, right? And unfortunately, I can't underscore how important it is for the United States of America and the House of Representatives for us to pass all 12 appropriations bills. We've been out of order in defiance of the law in Congress for most of the last 50 years. Last time we passed all 12 appropriations bills was in 96, 97.
So he's saying that he voted to keep McCarthy so that the process of getting all of these appropriations bills passed can continue. And that was his point. And he did use the analogy of you don't fire a coach mid-game. You do it at the end of the season. And I would say, oh, okay, but you can still make changes in the middle of a season. That does happen all the time, and it does seem to me like we are in the midst of a season. But here's more from Andy Ogles in the conversation that he had with Chris Hand yesterday.
We can have a speaker fight in 40 days. We're going to have it now, but what's going to happen is we're going to get another crappy speakers, a CR. And look, the other issue that we're facing is Scalise currently can't get the votes. Emmer currently can't get the votes. Jim Jordan is close, but he can't get the votes. Right. So this speaker's race could last 2 or 3 weeks, and so we're going to get another continuing resolution.
So here's my question. Now, again, I do believe that it was right that we ousted, we meaning, conservatives, Republicans, whatever. I do believe that it is correct and the right thing to do to bounce Kevin McCarthy. But here's the deal. To Andy Ogles' point yesterday, the two big names out there right now, you've got Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan. And they all have to deal with the same math that Kevin McCarthy was having to deal with. There is a very slim Republican majority in the House of Representatives. So a couple of things. Will Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, will they be able to get the votes that they need to become Speaker of the House? That's number one. And number two, okay, let's say that they do. Can they do any better than Kevin McCarthy? But McCarthy had to go because he had lost the faith of the Republicans in the House, if he ever had it. And that's the thing. Matt Gaetz was gunning for him since day one. I believe that perhaps it was a mistake for the Republicans to even approve Kevin McCarthy in the first place. Because who didn't see this coming a mile away? So now we'll have to see if Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise can get the blessing of Matt Gaetz and some of these other folks. If they do, then they do have to deal with, again, the same issues that Kevin McCarthy did. But from a strategic standpoint, everyone is saying this is chaotic. This isn't chaos. Chaos is what's happening across America right now and across our border right now. Folks going after Congressman Ogles specifically because he voted to keep McCarthy after giving the impression to some, and this is where I believe that Congressman Andy Ogles went wrong, is that, and I was surprised when I saw that while I was on vacation, that Ogles chose to vote to keep McCarthy. And I believe that where Ogles went wrong was that he did give the impression that he was right there with Matt Gaetz and he was on board with where Gaetz was. And so for Ogles to then come back and say, well, no, I vote to keep Kevin McCarthy, that was a bit of a letdown for people that, really had, McCarthy in their sights. And so they were incredibly disappointed. I don't see people going after Scott Desjardins or John Rose with the same vitriol that they are going after Andy Ogles.
The idea that I'm not conservative is bullcrap. It is absolute bullcrap. We have 12 appropriations bills to pass, and that's what we should be doing today. And anything that distracts from that is a problem. So if you want to have a speaker's race, we can do that in 3 or 4 more weeks. But not passing these 12 appropriations bills is a mistake. Stop the spending. The only way we do that is to pass these dadgum bills. And so I love Matt Gaetz. And, I respect him for having the cojones to do it. But quite frankly, I wish he would have waited about 4 weeks because we could have passed these bills.
So there you go. So I think you've got this epic battle now going on within the House of Representatives. And let me tell you something, friends. The media is really, really enjoying this. And so are the Democrats and some of these, in my estimation, probably a lot of these never Trump Republicans also enjoying the chaos in the House of Representatives. There's a lot more on this. Other stories that we are following for you. Are there really people out there that are saying that Taylor Swift is the only one that could beat Donald Trump in a general election? There's actually people that are suggesting that Taylor Swift should run for president.
Oh, not in this day and age, Brother Dan. That's just hearsay.
And you've got, this is how crazy it is. I come back day one. Biden is building a border wall, and people are saying that Taylor Swift should run for president. This is what I'm coming back to. Anyway, it is 5:23, Nashville's Morning News. By the way, Super text line is open. I've missed the Super texters as well. 615-737-9986. I assume the cameras are on. I probably look a wee bit fatter because let me tell you something. In addition to an abundance of drinking, I also did an abundance of eating over the past 3 days. And so, Johnny, we need whatever lens we have that's going to be a little more slimming for the host, if there is such a thing, because I had absolutely no discipline when it came to my vacation.
Is that why you're wearing that jacket?
That's exactly right. I'm trying to hide, the
trying to hide your fat sides, are you?
I'm trying to hide the fat sides from that cheesecake that I had at Wilderness of the Smokies. Speaking of smoking, anyway, moving on. Totally kidding. I didn't do any of that. 5:23, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey folks, Paul Winkler here. One of the things I like to do for investors is educate them, because the more educated I believe that you are as an investor, the more peace of mind you have, the less you worry, and the more successful you're likely to be as an investor. So here goes another education. If we look at a lot of these investment portfolios, like these target date funds out there or portfolios put together by big mutual fund companies, they'll often use something called a total market fund. And you think, wow, I own the whole market in one mutual fund. Matter of fact, there's a really popular video out there on YouTube that says you can get by with just a couple mutual funds and you can be totally diversified. Nothing could be further from the truth. What's going on here is this. One of the things we know as an investor is that you have small companies out there and you have large companies out there. You have growth companies and you have value companies. I taught this in a previous video. We expect more return from small companies than we do large because they have to pay more to use your money historically. Value companies have to pay more to use your money historically as well. Now, what happens with total market funds is they weight based on the size of the company. Well, that would mean that a bigger company would represent more of the portfolio. So graphically, it would look something like this. The fund would look like this. That there's a ton of money in really big companies and there's almost no money in really small companies in those portfolios. So it's not really diversified. Do they own them? Yeah, they own them, but they almost have no money in them. So when these do really well, you're not really getting the benefit from it. What we would be better served doing is investing in various areas of the market and holding different types of funds to be more balanced between these areas. That's what academic research shows us, is if we can hold these areas more separately, then we end up with a better risk-return experience. So this is one of the things that we teach people. We like for you to understand this because the more you understand it, the less you're pulled astray from the investing industry that's typically all about selling you things. Yeah, total market fund, it sounds really good. Not necessarily so great in practice. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more and learn more about investing so that you're a more educated investor, why don't you take us up on a free 15-minute phone call. Go to paulwinkler.com. It's paulwinkler.com. You can set up one in any of our offices, our 10 offices around the Nashville area. There's one near you, most likely. Set that up. Come see us. We love to educate investors. I think you'll be happy you did.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Well, President Biden's building a border wall, but he's not saying much about it. Moderate Republicans are going after Matt Gaetz. Tennessee might start putting people in prison for threats against schools. And there are more than 20 million reasons to have the Vols open every college football season in Music City. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. I'll just remind folks that I will cover the whole Biden border wall coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, but I will remind folks that Joe Biden said this on the campaign trail.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
There you go.
Oops.
So, oops. What is it? Go. Anyway. And yeah, they are. Yeah. They're using Donald Trump wall funds from 2019. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that and a whole lot more coming up on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. This rain on the way is going to usher in that cool down. President Biden is waiving more than 24 federal laws to do what former President Trump did, but Trump was blasted for it. Biden's going to build a wall on the southern border to combat illegal immigration, too. Andrea Fugii says it comes as New York Mayor Eric Adams arrived in Mexico City to try to get a message to those wishing to come here illegally to not.
In New York, the number of buses filled with migrants has nearly tripled in recent days. Nearly 600 people are arriving each day. The mayor is now on a 4-day trip to South and Central America.
We're going to tell them that coming to New York doesn't mean you're going to stay in a 5-star hotel.
The mayor is also pushing to suspend the city's so-called right to shelter law, which mandates New York provide shelter for any homeless person.
Biden's about-face on building a border wall was quietly written into the U.S. Federal Registry yesterday. Elsewhere in Washington, D.C., moderate House Republicans telling ABC News they're pushing to expel Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz from the House GOP conference and punish the other 2 Republicans who voted to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Here in Tennessee, there's work underway to stiffen penalties for threats against schools. Gallatin Republican State Senator Farrell Hale has a bill that puts people in prison for 12 years and fines them thousands of dollars. But he tells Fox 17 he's for leaving it up to local law enforcement to decide whether someone actually deserves a felony.
We wanted to leave the misdemeanor in place because a lot of times you'll have a 13 or 14-year-old that just mouths off, and we don't want to be looking at a felony for them. Probably don't even want to charge them with a misdemeanor, but we want to leave that there for law enforcement.
Right now, Tennessee schools are enforcing a zero-tolerance policy. They expel any student for at least a year if that student makes a mass threat. And in Money News, the Nashville Sports Council says the Vols college football season opener against Virginia at Nissan Stadium brought a $20.3 million economic impact to Nashville. About 41,000 fans traveled here from out of town to pack the stadium, with 69,507, making it the biggest college football game ever at Nissan Stadium. More than 2.5 million people watched it on the tube. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Why does this Johnny, why does this sound like this? Why does he sound like WTN? All right, so apparently I've forgotten what little buttons to hit.
I thought that was just part of the promo.
No, me screaming at not screaming. I wasn't screaming at Johnny.
I thought I heard you say fiddlesticks.
Well, I didn't curse, did I?
I think you said fiddlesticks.
It is amazing how out of sorts. You would think that after thousands of talk shows over many, many years, that I would just be able to come right back into this chair and have no problem whatsoever.
Just like riding a bike.
But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking that I'm talking to Johnny.
And you're not.
In the little talk back, and I actually hit the on-air button.
Yeah.
You were talking to not only me, but everybody.
You were talking to my mom and dad.
Listen,
Yes.
it's 5:38. There's nobody listening. I'm totally kidding. Actually, you know what I found out? By the way, I don't know why that promo sounds the way that it does.
I don't know, Dad.
I was talking. That was the whole point. I'm talking to Johnny, and I'm like, Johnny, why does that sound so? You guys hear? Did you folks listening hear that?
Like I would have an answer for you, Dan, since I didn't produce it.
I did produce it, and I didn't produce it like half a step too slow.
I don't know, Dan. Sound like a voice from hell.
Yeah, maybe it was backmasking.
Sure, that's exactly what it was, Ken.
Well, you know, like
yeah, Bride says, please play Falling Down the Stairs. No, that's okay. So if there was ever any doubt that people could hear what I said,
yeah.
Hot mic moment on YouTube. Johnny, why does it sound like this?
Why does it sound like this, Johnny?
You know, that's oftentimes when people listen to this show and I'm hosting, they often do say that. Why does it sound like this?
Why does it sound like this?
Why does Mandis' voice always go up when he's upset? Damn it, Dad, Kevin McCarthy. You know what I mean? You know who is very excited that I'm back at work today?
Amy.
Yeah. So this is what it's like to be married to yours truly, right? So yesterday, we went to, first day back, Wilderness of the Smokies. We went to Dollywood and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm poolside with Amy. And I'm reading all of this stuff on Twitter, and I'm starting to go down the road of, monologuing about, Kevin McCarthy and the blah, blah, blah. Ask me how bad I was yesterday talking about politics poolside. I was so bad, somebody actually got up and left. I was going on, and the person, Amy was to my right, and there was another person to my left, and they just got up and left.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just, am I being loud? She says, yes, you're being loud. And you're talking politics at, Wilderness of the Smokies. Just shut up already. Nobody cares. Okay, sorry. So she was like, can you please just go back to work? See, if you want, go downstairs and go in front of your microphone and just start talking and maybe just get out of your system, because you may be ready to go back to work, but nobody else in the house is ready to get back into all this stuff. So that's what Amy's vacation was like. Hearing me monologue poolside.
Cool.
Tell us about her trying to beat somebody up.
Yes.
I want to hear that.
So we go to Dollywood. Johnny is back today. Thank you, Johnny. Yes, Johnny is back today. Thank God. Very quickly. So here's what happened. So Johnny was supposed to fill in for me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep.
Johnny got to feeling a little ill on Friday. So I was, Johnny called me and said, can you have other people fill in? Well, at that point, it was rather difficult to find some folks. Thank God for Pamela Furr and J.D. Hayworth and Cameron Smith. So thank God for those three, because, it was rough. So thank you to those three for filling in. Johnny's back today, feeling better.
Oh, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you, man.
I'm glad both of you boys are back.
Yes.
So here's what happened with Amy.
Yeah.
So we're at Dollywood. You know how you take the tram, you go to Dollywood or some of these amusement parks, and the tram takes you back to the parking lot where your car is.
Right.
So it's the end of the night, and you've got, all these people vying for places on the tram, and this family just cut right in front of us. And so we had to wait for the next tram. Well, Amy was like, excuse me, we were here. And this woman gets all pissy with Amy. And she starts doing I'm sorry, folks, listening on the radio, this is visual, but she started doing this whole finger waving thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, kind
I don't
of a
like
thing.
that.
So I had no idea what was going on because I, of course, am on my phone reading about Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, you're monologuing.
So, yeah. So I walk up and I'm like, is there a problem? And this woman with her finger says, well, she won't shut the blank up. And I'm like shocked. And so Amy looks at this woman because it is this close to because Amy, she's sweet and all, but she's got a temper on her. I know. And so Amy is right there. And now I've got a temper on me too. And I'm just like, I'm right there too. And so, but Amy brilliantly looks at this woman and she says, because the woman's getting up in Amy's grill.
Ooh.
Amy says, are you going to hit me now?
Calmly.
And that was it. And the woman had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And I started laughing because it was so absurd that this woman who had to be in her 40s or 50s was getting in our grill because she and her family of malcontents clearly cut in front of us in the tram. And so the woman took a step back and she just didn't even know what to say. And Amy said, get along with your business, get on the tram and get.
She didn't say, how about if I whip your ass?
No, she didn't. She didn't have to. It was the way that Amy said, you're going to hit me now? And so for the past couple of days, the joke has been, you're going to hit me now?
Yeah.
And, until the day that I die, Amy and I, that will be our joke. Are you going to hit me now?
Amy just calmly let her know.
Yes.
I like that.
And the best part of this whole thing was, you can tell that this woman, and this is not a woman thing, but this person, whatever, I'm not being misogynist, but this woman's a real piece of work. How do I know that? Because the husband just keeps on walking.
Yep.
He was
knew.
Oh, God, she's
there.
Yes, Johnny. It's like, oh, God, she's doing it again.
He'd probably seen his wife take an ass whipping before.
He's
Didn't
probably-
want to see it again.
He's probably going, thank God it's not me.
Oh, yeah. And so he's just, and I'm looking over at the tram because I'm half expecting the husband to come out, get off the tram. The kids were still there holding the places, expecting the husband to come over and start to do what, husbands do. And he stayed on the tram. And I thought it was funny. I started laughing. I did. I didn't know what else to do. The whole thing was so ridiculous. And so now Amy and I are also doing these circular, finger pointing up in the sky kind of a thing that this woman was doing. The whole thing was just so absurd. And for me, it was the highlight of the trip. And it was a great trip. But Riker thought it was funny too, by the way. Because it was like, I said to Riker, that is a lesson in how to diffuse a situation and deal with a bully. Because that's what this woman was a bully.
Yeah.
So there you go. Anyway, other than that, it was a great trip. It was a great vacation. And again, I ate way too much. And I come back and there's actually people that are saying that Taylor Swift is the only one that can beat Donald Trump in a general election. What the hell have I come back to?
Taylor Swift.
The world has lost its ever-loving mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's 33 years old, so I'm assuming that the people that are saying that have actually done the math to ensure that she would be 35 by the time she would, take the oath of office.
Well, right now she's too busy taking over the NFL.
So can we just, from the enough already category, it's like, just stop it with Taylor Swift in the NFL.
They're not going to, dude.
Nope.
The media's all over it, and they are not going to stop.
Can you explain to me, Ken, and maybe okay, so why is this a big deal? Like, what is happening? Why is Taylor Swift taking over the NFL? It's like, enough already. It's great that she and Travis Kelce, they're doing their little thing, whatever it is. But, I mean,
to their credit, they may be asking the same thing. What's the big deal?
No. Here's the thing, though, is that she is purposely making this a thing by being, hey, I'm going to be in the box with the mom and everybody can see me. Hey, hello. You know what I mean?
Cameras, yes.
It's like this whole thing seems to be, it feels like an arranged marriage. It feels like this whole thing is set up, and I don't really understand why. It's like, does the NFL need this help of Taylor Swift? Now, I think part of what's going on. I think part of what's going on is the NFL is trying to capitalize on this whole thing.
Well, yeah.
Because, they're trying to explain to the Swifties that, this is what football is.
Well, did you see that apparently Kelsey's jersey sales increased by 400%?
That was going on when I left, yes, by 400%.
Yeah.
And I don't really get it. I don't understand. And I don't understand why this is such a big deal. And here's the thing. If you're Travis Kelce, do you really want this in your life? Because can I just say that relationships are hard enough?
Yeah.
A relationship with Taylor Swift would be really difficult.
Not to mention, you're going to be written about later on.
Well, yes. I mean, why would you even... Now, Kelsey's the one that invited all this because he's the one that made the first move.
Well, yeah, he and his brother, they have this podcast.
Yes.
And they're out there yammering on and on about it, Well, his brother apparently is the one who let the cat out of the bag. And then Kelce came along, and he started chiming in on it with his brother. And of course, you see him up in the press box. Then I think at last weekend's game, you had actors and actresses. Ryan Reynolds was... up there in Taylor Swift's box, clapping for the Chiefs.
Now, I want to know if football...
He's probably not even a Chiefs fan.
Now, I want to know, will football fans now go out and get Taylor Swift jerseys? Because...
Football fans?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, didn't we do this? Didn't we talk about this way back before I went on vacation, how we were going to get Mac Morey a Taylor Swift jersey because she is wearing a Chiefs jersey? Didn't we talk about that?
We had him dating Taylor Swift.
Did we really?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Well, now, if you were to combine Mac Morey and Taylor Swift's name, what would it be if we were going to do the whole, combining of names thing? What would it be? Maurice
Tory?
Whatever. Moving on. I've already spent too much time on this on a story that I don't give two craps about.
Tay-Tay.
See, that's the thing. Nobody cares about it, but they keep talking about it.
Exactly. Well, that's Taylor
exactly
Swift.
Right.
That's Taylor Swift in a nutshell.
And I've got to say, I'm the one who started it.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are the one that started it, aren't you?
Well, all right. I'll go home, Dan.
No, that's okay. But anyway, so my whole point is, I don't know what the heck the NFL is doing.
Well, it's not the NFL.
Well, it is the NFL because they're the ones partnering with the networks to make sure that Taylor Swift gets as much airtime as possible.
It's the trailer era.
Wait a minute. Well, I mean, the league doesn't have anything to do with cameras.
Oh.
I mean,
I love you, Ken.
I think it's the media, dude.
I think this is the NFL doing everything they can, telling the media, because remember broadcasting rights and all that kind of stuff. They partner to put forward their best foot forward because it is a partnership. The cameras are owned by the networks. The networks are working with the NFL on their partnership to draw in as many viewers as possible. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to build up the NFL's brand by somehow trying to make Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce a thing. I don't understand it, but whatever.
Did it
Am I wrong
to
on
build
this?
up its brand, though? I mean...
That's the thing I'm asking.
They're making billions of dollars.
I don't know.
Now, I mean, I'm not saying that they're not, but... I just don't know if Roger Goodell is saying, by the way, let's get our own cameras out there And if the media doesn't show Swift, let's make sure we do.
No, what I'm saying is that
Taylor. Tay-Tay.
I think this is a coordinated effort with the NFL, the networks that are showing the games, and frankly, probably Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's people as well.
So you think they're faking it? You think it's a big ruse?
I think this whole thing just seems like it's a PR stunt. That's what I think. It's a whole PR stunt.
Yeah, it does seem like a publicist's dream. to have
Yes,
these two
that's what I'm
together.
saying.
Yeah. And publicists have been known to do this, to get, celebrities together like this.
Boy, we sure are tired of talking about this Taylor Swift thing.
Yeah,
we just keep going back to it, don't we, gentlemen?
We're sick of it. We're sick of it.
I mean, we're late.
Yeah, we are.
Gosh, we are. 5:54 in Nashville. It took me 1 hour.
All right.
1 hour, and Taylor Swift makes us late.
Tay-Tay.
Oh. Tay-Tay. 5:54 in Nashville's morning news on Super. And by the way, I like Taylor Swift's music, but I just think this whole thing is just dumb. Moving on. 5:54. Why did I have to admit that? I think everybody knows that I like Taylor Swift's music, but I just think this whole thing is ridiculous.
Dan, how do you really feel about it? Now we're real late.
5:54, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN Window Nation. I like to call fall as open window weather, but if you've got old windows that are hard to open and close, well, obviously that's an issue, which is why if you're thinking about getting new windows, you've got to call my friends at Window Nation. They've got another great deal going on right now for the month of October. Get 2 free windows for every 2 that you buy. Plus, you put no money down, make no payments, and pay no interest for 2 full years. Now, these are the folks that I turn to for new windows in my basement studio, and you should too. Great quality, great customer service, and new windows means that you'll save on your energy bills up to 30% more. So call Window Nation today at 866-90-NATION. 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. Remember that great deal. Get 2 windows free for every 2 that you buy. There's no limit. Plus, no money down, no payments, and pay no interest for 2 full years. 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. 5:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, everybody remember this comment from the president.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
Dope. All right, well, apparently big news overnight. The wall is now being built with Trump funds by none other than Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas. Details straight ahead on WTN.